now we bring up our favorite Reverend Ken Fendrick to lead us in meditation and share his thoughts. Welcome.
Oh goodness, good morning everybody. Well, let's take a moment now. I don't know how your week's been. I know how my week's been. And take a little time and let's just center ourselves. Take a little time to just open ourselves up to that presence of spirit, to experience a little bit of silence. So I invite you in this moment to close your eyes if you so feel called. Get comfortable in your seats if you're not comfortable already. Maybe stretch out some of those muscles that might be just a little tight, especially those shoulder muscles. I get those sometimes. Just in this space, as we begin to center into our bodies and feel them, I invite you to take a deep, holy, cleansing breath. Just breathe in, nice and relaxed. Hold it for a moment, and let it out. Maybe with a little sigh. Take another breath in. This time, just a little bit deeper. Hold it for a moment, and breathe out. With each breath in, just feel yourself sync up with that divine pulse, that divine rhythm. Just breathing in and breathing out, like the ocean waves, just coming in and releasing. With each breath, feel your mind begin to clear. That fog and that haze of thoughts and things and feelings and emotion. Feel them start to dissipate like the morning fog burning off with the sun. And with each breath, we just feel ourselves beginning to go deeper and deeper into our center, to that heart space, into that place that knows no time, the eternal. So in this space and in this moment, I invite you to take these words that I speak, let them vibrate in your ears, through your mind, through your body, and let this idea spark in your mind. I see the life, I speak the life, and I am the life I create. I see the life, I speak the life, and I am the life I create. And now we take these words and these ideas behind them for a few moments now into the silence, into the silence. I see the life, I speak the life, and I am the life I create. now as we move out of this place, this quiet space, this secret space of silence, we begin to open our eyes, bring ourselves back into this present moment. We sort of wiggle our fingers and toes, but stay connected to that breath and that peace and these ideas that we have, because we will be exploring these. And we open ourselves up now to this message. So we give thanks and we just say amen for this time of rest and rejuvenation. Amen. All right, now I got to reanimate. But with a sense of rejuvenation. One of my favorite movies of all time, this movie came out in like the late 70s, but it's a movie called Caddyshack. Anybody familiar with that movie? And not that I'm a golfer or anything, but just the whole cast of characters. You had Rodney Dangerfield and Bill Murray and Ted Knight and all these crazy characters in this movie. And so I was contemplating this idea for my talk of the idea of visualization and seeing and affirmations. And I remember this part from Caddyshack, and it was one of my favorite parts. It was a scene where Chevy Chase, who's the pro golfer, the resident pro golfer, and this kid named Danny Noonan. Remember Noonan? And I forgot who played him. But so Chevy Chase, his character, was giving Noonan some points on the golf course, and Noonan was getting ready for this big tournament against Judge Smells, which was kind of the protagonist in this. And so the resident golfer was just hitting these balls with one shot and doing all these crazy shots. And he looks at Danny Noonan and he says, Danny, look at me. Look at me, Danny. Danny, see. Danny, see your future. But be your future. See your future. Be your future. And so it was an object lesson from this movie on the importance and the idea of visualization. In the chapter John, in the Bible, chapter John, chapter 15, verse 7, it says, if you abide in me, and my words abide in you, ask whatever you wish, and it will be done for you. And so this idea of, our first unity principle we just talked about that was on here on the board, that, we recognize God as source, abiding in that presence, first of all. And everything, those words, through our consciousness, we hold those words in and we declare those words. We can ask for in faith and it will be done for us. In the book, The Wealth Spark by Reverend James Parker, he brings out two ideas. Is anybody taking that study right now? Okay, a few of you, great. So you'll recognize some of these ideas. But the Wealth Spark, Reverend James describes, he talks about two things, visualization and affirmation. And so those are the two ideas we're going to be exploring today, and a few tools that can help us out to master these ideas and these important elements. Everybody ready?
Yes.
All right. Pastor James defines visualization as the practice of using your imagination to form an inner vision of something you wish to achieve and experience. And really what visualization is it's the same thing as imagination. Imagination is what? One of our 12 powers that Charles Fillmore highlighted for us. And so in Unity's Revealing Word, Fillmore describes imagination as the faculty of mind that images and forms. It's the power to shape and form thought. Imagination, or visualization, which is the more modern term for it, is one of our 12 powers, as I just stated. And when it's coupled with the power of affirmative spoken word, we have the ability to claim dominion in all matters, regardless of any appearances. This is the divine power we are gifted, and therefore, we must use it wisely. So Reverend James defines in this book, The Wealth Spark, he defines a few ways we can we can harness this power of visualization. So this is the C in C and B. We want to see, right? So first of all, I want to back up. I want to digress a little bit, because the first thing before we do any active visualization is what? I'm sorry? We want to see with the eyes of faith. First of all, we must have faith in the source. And so if we truly believe unity principle number one, that there's only one power and one presence active in the universe and in our lives, that is God the good. We have to start there. So we start with that faith as God as source. Because we can visualize all the channels we want. If we need money, we might visualize Reader's Digest sweepstakes coming to our house and giving us this big check we can hold, right? Or we can visualize finding several $100 bills on the ground. But those are merely channels, so we need to anchor our faith into the source and know that our good will come through a multitude of channels. And we don't have to worry about how it's going to come. We just have to know it's going to come. But we can aid this process. So the first one is we can define our goals and objectives. You know, we might have a purpose. We might want to see a friend of ours healed that's in the hospital. You know, that might be our objective, our prayer, so to speak. And so what do? We acknowledge source first, that God is the source, and we know that that source, just like we prayed in the prayer box, that source is actively working through a multitude of channels to bring that forth. The second is create a detailed image. So some of you are used to using maybe vision boards, right? Some of us just use our imaginations and like to just, you know, think of all the opulence that we can experience. For instance, if we're looking at the details, like I need transportation, I would love a shiny new red car. We can visualize that. We can visualize the color and the feel of the fabric and the smell, that new car smell. We can hear the roar of the engine. So in this, we engage all of our feelings, right? Sight, smell, touch, sound. So when we use these feelings and actively engage feelings and emotions with our mind, with our visual picture, we create a powerful tool or instrument in this visualization process. So that's the visualization part. Now let's move on to the spoken word, the declaring, affirmations. Does anybody know what an affirmation is?
Yes.
Yes? Anybody like to take a stab at it? All my students that are taking this class? That's all right. I love to put people on the spot. Well, basically, in a nutshell, because I'm keeping this talk very simple today, C and B. So we just explored the C part. Now we're going to explore the B part. The B part. Affirmations are just positive statements of truth. That's it. Positive statements of truth that we can repeat to ourselves to reinforce positive beliefs and attitudes. They serve to replace negative self-talk or limiting thoughts with more empowering and upbeat ones. And that definition was from Reverend James. So you will see that in your study. I think are you studying visualization this week, or was that last week? Last week. Oh, so you ought to be giving me the answers to this. I'm going to tell Reverend Carol. So some of these we're going to reinforce this, but the first part, he gives a few suggestions in this, and the first is to recognize limiting beliefs. And I want to address this for a minute, because I don't think it gets talked about enough in Unity. It was in older Unity, in older books, they discussed it more in the metaphysics, but the theory behind this is yes, we use affirmations. We want to reinforce the positive statements, and affirmations are the warm and fuzzy feelings, right? That I am good. I am well liked, and doggone it, people like me. Remember that Stuart Smalley guy from Saturday Night Live years ago? But to recognize the limiting beliefs, we have this power of denial. And usually the theory is that we want to precede the positive statement or the affirmation with a denial. Denials are a cleansing statement. So a cleansing statement would be something like, I give no power to, although I'm feeling pain in my arm, I give no power to that pain and how it has control over me. Something worded in that negative sense. And then you follow it with an affirmation. I am a whole and complete child of God, and therefore this pain and this infirmity goes away right now. So we can use statements like that. Again, denials to kind of cleanse away those negative thoughts or beliefs, and affirmations to reinforce those positive beliefs. The other thing that we really need to pay attention to is that's the statement of I am. That's one of the most powerful statements in affirmations we can use. And we can use it either positively or negatively. This is kind of what the 10 Commandments were about taking the Lord's name in vain, because the Lord is translated metaphysically is the I am. So in other words, when I'm driving up here today, and I've had a long weekend, I did a family camp the night before, or the day before. I didn't sleep real well because I was sleeping in my car. I know, boo-hoo, right? But I was driving up, and man, I'm so tired. Oh, I'm so tired. And then finally I arrested myself about after the second and a half statement, and I said, wait a second, this isn't helping things. So I acknowledge the way I felt, because it isn't like, oh, we just deny it, we just deny it, we just deny it, we just deny it, and it goes away. No, we can acknowledge how we feel or how we're acting. So in that moment, I said, wow, yes, I feel tired, but I am connected to the presence and the power of the living Spirit right now, and I feel energized. Yes! And then I put on some bumping tunes and started bobbing my head a little bit, started dancing, started waving at people as I'm going, and I started feeling a little more excited about things. But it's that power to arrest ourselves, right? We have to be able to stop, time out, right? And go, this isn't who we are. So again, proceeding with the denial and on to the affirmation. And we may have to repeat that, as Pastor James says, several times or even more. He talks about mirroring, right? When we look in the mirror, we look into our eyes, and look into our face, and we actually say it to ourselves. Sometimes I've taken my recorder on my phone and recorded it and played things back at night before I go to bed. To get that, anchor that into really marinating into the subconscious. Because it's not just a one and done thing. I mean, yeah, we can say, I am feeling great, but 2 seconds later something happens. You're like, oh man, really? So again, it's letting these marinate, cleansing, letting these statements marinate and repeating them. And we have to believe in these affirmations. So the important thing is to craft something that you can believe. That's why the denials are so important. Because without the denials, I believe, with just affirmations, yeah, we're saying them, but we're not wholeheartedly buying into them. I feel great. No, I don't. I'm receiving the abundance of God right now. No, I'm not. So the denials help clear that. The denials help clear that out. And again, it's the way we craft them. So it may take a little practice. And there's no right way or wrong way, because you have to create it in your own words. Now, there's lots of pre-written denials and affirmations you can use. But the main thing is to word it in words that you can believe in. Because if you don't buy into it, your subconscious isn't going to buy into it, and spirit isn't going to really hear you. Spirit's there just waiting to be unleashed. But if we're not buying into it, that channel's closed. And so we have to create those statements in words we can believe. So that's really it, folks. There's not a whole lot to this. You know, the power to see and the power to be. A power to visualize, to use descriptive pictures as you can, descriptive words as you can, to use the thoughts, to use the feelings and emotions behind your visualizations, but to also recognize that the one source is God, and that it may come from a different channel than what we actually visualize. That's the faith element. That's seeing through our eyes of faith. And then as we move on to these affirmations, to craft them, to craft that denial, to craft the affirmations in words and ways that we can buy into it and believe it. I have to believe it. And also, speaking them out loud. Now, we don't have to do that in the midst of, the supermarket or something like that. I am a child of God. The universe is on my side, and I have more than enough money to buy everybody's groceries here. You'd probably make a lot of friends, and I'm sure a lot of people would congregate around you as you have your 2 handfuls of coupons, right? But that's a form of abundance, right? So again, it's not speaking it out loud is something, in your mirror, in your car. You can do it out on the street if you want to. The Pentecostals are really good at speaking out loud in prayer. But when you speak out loud, again, speaking with that sense of conviction and authority, like you believe it. I get these nightmares from time to time, and there's like some dark shadow after me. And in my dreams, I used to shout the Lord's Prayer at it. And as they progressed, at times, I would shout out this statement that I'm a child of God and you have no dominion or authority over me. And early in my dreams, when these dreams would occur, I was shouting it out in a scared voice, my inner voice. This is in my dream, but I would shout it out in a scared voice, going, I'm a child of God and you have no authority over me. But later in my dreams, as I progressed in my faith, I remember the voice was clear and authoritative. I'm a child of God, and you have no authority over me. Dissipate, go away. And I would sleep better. So it's that voice, whether it be our speaking voice or internal, our mind voice, it's speaking these affirmations, these denials and affirmations with authority, with a deep, booming voice. We all have that kind of authoritative voice. For women, it might be that mom voice. And for us guys, it's that, that sports voice or drill sergeant voice, I guess I should say. So those are some of the things we can do to anchor this stuff in. And again, visualizing, denials, affirmations, anchoring it all with faith, and lastly, speaking in using the power of our voice to speak those words into authority. So, as you move out today, remember to see and be. Namaste.
Okay.